So this is Baruch of the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, and we're going to get to the ultimate connection with God right now. We'll come in and see how Rabbi Mimran has organized this book. It's really a little pedagogic, and it's really very compelling also, in a sense. I'm getting there. These are all divided into lessons. And at the end of every lesson, okay, this lesson was called, this was about the prophets, lesson from the prophets. He gives a little blurb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the blurb. I call it blurb. It's a summary of what we saw. He says, we're talking here now about calm the mind, break through the inner internal resistance, be persistent until the connection is achieved. Let's move on. The next one, he says, calming the storm of the mind. He said, what a dreadful affliction it is to be unable to stop thinking. We don't even realize how handicapped our compulsive thoughts make us. Now, he comes to the next chapter, which he calls Beware of Repetitive Thoughts. At the end, he has this little blurb of a summary. He says, your mind is nothing more than a tool. It is there to assist you with specific tasks. When each task is completed, you lay it down. The illusion of separateness is the next one. At the end, he has the blurb. And then we come to where we're learning today. If only we could peel away the layers of physical appearances and separate forms, we would see a magnificent unity of life, the beautiful, powerful, self-evident oneness of creation. So, how do we peel away? So, another lesson. This lesson is called, this is part 4, he calls it. This lesson says imbalance between mind, body, and the neshama. So he says one should be in a constant state of attachment with his creator. So he says in Hebrew, it says, Lo yapsik afilu rega. Don't interrupt that connection even for a moment. Zechu sod with a dav kabo, ubo. Now, let's see what he thinks, what Rabbi Mimran wants us to hear. We can think of an addiction to compulsive thinking as a disease. For what is a disease but a lack of balance in the body? We know, for example, that the body's cells divide and multiply and crowd each other out, replacing old cells and giving life to new cells all the time. This is a natural and vital process that keeps the body alive and vibrant. What happens, though, when cells divide and multiply in an unbalanced way, with no regard for the needs of the total organism? In that case, cells proliferate in unhealthy ways, and the result is disease. We can apply the same understanding to the workings of the mind. If it is used correctly in the way that the Creator meant for it to be used, the mind is a marvelous tool. If, on the other hand, it is used incorrectly, it is worse than ineffective, for it becomes a destructive force within us. We speak of using the mind incorrectly, but that is not altogether accurate. It is not that you use your mind incorrectly. Rather, if you are not using your mind correctly, the result is that you are barely using your mind at all. Most of the time, then, the mind is using you. It may seem like you are in control, and you may even believe that you are your mind, that you are your mind. But this is merely an illusion. What is really happening is that the mind, which should be just a tool for you to use at will, has taken you over. This is a case of extreme imbalance, and therefore lies the disease. Now, I'd like to read that last part one more time, and then we'll conclude. We speak of using the mind incorrectly, but that is not altogether accurate. So that means that you're like in control and you're using it wrong. It is not that you use your mind incorrectly. Rather, if you are not using your mind correctly, the result is that you are barely using your mind at all. Most of the time, then, the mind is using you. It may seem like you are in control, and you may even believe that you are your mind, but this is merely an illusion. You are not your mind. He's telling me that mind is like a business. It's like a river that's flowing, and we think that it's us. What is really happening is that the mind, which should be just a tool for you to use at will, has taken you over. This is a case of extreme imbalance, and therein lies the disease. Now the blurb. The blurb says, what happens when cells divide and multiply in an unbalanced way, with no regard for the needs of the total organism? What happens? So there we are. That's the sheer meditation from Rabbi Yosef Chaim Mimran.